Okay. So following speaker, we can say TikTok is the hottest social media platform around. For many merchants who like to leverage TikTok as a powerful marketing tool for increasing brand awareness and of course selling products there on TikTok. So let's welcome George from eCommerce Mentoring. And he would like to share us about media buy, the best practice for TikTok ads in 2022. Hey, George.
Hello. Hi. Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Can you see my presentation? I think you should be able to see it now. Okay. So I'm going to be walking us through a two-part approach to the TikTok platform and marketing on the TikTok platform. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the TikTok platform and who is it for, because I consider that to be rather relevant, especially with all the hype and buzz going around the TikTok platform. I still do not consider it as a broad spectrum platform. So albeit it can be a very good to get good results for certain niches and certain products and certain approaches, it's still not something that you can think like Facebook, where anything goes, right? So it's not there. So it's still important to talk about who TikTok is for. And then once that's out of the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about the best practices for media buying on TikTok. And I'm going to be suggesting a strategy that I currently use for testing and scaling on the TikTok platform. So this is a quick overview. So when should you advertise on TikTok? And then we're going to talk about the media buying strategy. So starting with the platform itself, we all know that it is currently the most popular online destination. So it has overtaken Google, surprisingly enough. Last year in 2021, it overtook Google as the most popular online destination. And one of the big advantages is that the advertising costs are significantly lower than some of its main competitors, namely Facebook, right? So you can get CPMs as low as $3 to $5 on average. If you have a really good creative, you can go down to $1, sometimes even lower. So, very, very good advertising costs. But it's not a platform that can be used for all niches indiscriminately. So that's what we're going to talk about next. It does have the highest engagement rate out of all digital marketing platforms that are currently being used, and that is a very, 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 very relevant point that I'm going to get back to. So we have a little information here from Influencer Marketing Hub. They did a little study on the average engagement rates from some of the most popular marketing platforms, and you can see the contrast is very obvious. From micro influencers, you get about 18% engagement rate on TikTok average, when you get about 4 on Instagram and like 1.5 on YouTube. And then for mega influencers, broader audiences tend to have lower engagement rates. You still have 5% on TikTok on average, 1.21 on Instagram, and 0.23 or 0.37 on YouTube. So for micro influencers, you still get around 4, around 1.6 on YouTube, where for mega influencers, TikTok is still bigger. So this is a huge contrast. For mega influencers, the engagement rate on TikTok is still bigger than micro influencers on Instagram and YouTube. And for those of you that do influencer marketing, you know how huge of a factor this is, because you have to study your influencers, you have to study your engagement rates. And on average, and just speaking about this makes the contrast very, very obvious. On average, a mega influencer on TikTok is still going to get you a higher engagement rate than a micro influencer on Instagram. So this does say a lot about the platform, and it does speak to how you must approach the platform. It's a platform that is made for engagement. It's not a platform, of course, this has a downside, and the downside is it's not a platform that is going to accept all kinds of content, all kinds of promotions, and all kinds of ads like you would see on Facebook or even Instagram to some extent. Instagram is kind of in between. That being said, some of the top performing niches on TikTok right now tend to be health, fitness, beauty, baby niches. So things that correlate well with the target audience that you're going to find on TikTok, which is Generally, younger people, younger demographics, the most, like 60%, I believe. Last study that I saw about this, at least 60% of the TikTok audience was somewhere between their 20s and their late 30s. So very, very young audience. Of course, if you're looking in terms of conversions, and this ties into the advertising costs, of course, if you're thinking in terms of traffic that will convert, having a younger demographic is not necessarily better, quite the contrary, usually, because naturally older people have more money to spend and they convert more. That's why, that's why TikTok is not for all products. It's a younger demographic, it has cheaper traffic, but if you have a product that correlates well with this audience, then it can be a gold mine. Because if you have a product that is not too pricey, again, because if you're going for something that is aimed at younger demographics, you don't want to be going for high ticket products in general, and you have an offer that correlates well with these niches for these audiences, you can see amazing results. Now, the last thing before we move on to the media buying part is something that I want to take a moment here to mention, because anyone that goes on to advertise on TikTok, in my opinion, should consider this. Because the platform is completely oriented towards organic content and it's oriented towards generating engagement, your typical Facebook ad approach is not going to work here. So, or it's very unlikely to work. You need to think about, if you're thinking about building a brand on TikTok, you need to think about how a creator would approach their audience, because TikTok is a platform for creators and their audiences. And it's no coincidence that some of the most popular brands that have grown the most in these platforms recently are brands that are endorsed or even founded by creators, by influencers, because the approach tends to be the same if you want to grow a brand on a platform like TikTok. What does this mean? This means that these brands are founded and the customer lifetime value, the customer loyalty for these brands are founded and guided towards three general principles, which is you either provide one major principle, which is providing value, which then divides into three options. You either provide value through education, you provide value through aspiration, meaning people will want to be like you, people want to be like the influencer, which is a very common thing as well. Or you're going to provide value just by providing entertainment. So aspiration, entertainment, or education. And this is what mostly, it's usually one of these three that gathers an audience around a specific creator. A new brand, a modern brand that wants to go on TikTok needs to understand this and follow the same path. Because if you want your audience to revolve around you and you want to have a strong brand, a strong presence, you need to be providing one of these three. Because more than just your products, that's what's going to get people to come back. And that's what's going to get people to engage. That's what's going to make your brand work on an environment like TikTok, which is meant for engagement. So that being said, let's move to the media buying best practices themselves. These are some broad terms. We're going to get to the strategy right after this. So broadly speaking, and I'm choosing these points for someone that comes from Facebook mindset. Interest targeting isn't a huge deal, like it could be for Facebook. Broad targeting works the best in most cases. Again, this makes sense if you think about what I said previously, and that's why I wanted to emphasize that, because the audience is not very broad. It's a specific age range with kind of targeted interest within a few niches. You either have a product that works for them or you don't. So generally in 9 out of 10 cases, at least from what I've seen, it's not going to be a very thorough approach into interest targeting that is going to make a dead product into a winning product. Generally, you see it very early on if it's something that's going to work well on TikTok or not. And if it doesn't and you can save it, it's probably because of the creatives and the approach itself, not so much because of the interest targeting at the level of the media buying strategy. The next thing is the high frequency, which is something that you really need to be aware of. If you start scaling a product on TikTok, the algorithm doesn't do a very good job at understanding frequency and trying to avoid showing the ad to the same people over and over again, which is something that Facebook, which has a much, much better developed algorithm, does very well. TikTok, if you're scaling, you're going to be needing new creatives every week at least, because you're going to start to see, if you start scaling more aggressively, a few thousands a day, you're going to start seeing your ROAS struggle to maintain a certain level. So you're going to be, you inject new creatives, and then after a week, it just dips again, because you're going to face very high frequencies. There is kind of a workaround that you can do for this, which is just creating a custom audience for everyone that's seen your ads and exclude that in every single ad set to kind of help the algorithm into doing its job. But in general, yes, that's something that I would recommend. Be prepared to refresh your creatives like once a week. And then, something that I've mentioned before, the younger demographics, you generally want to exclude the 13 to 17 age range, because it's not a great converting traffic. So they usually don't have credit cards, they don't have the money, they have to ask their parents to buy stuff. So not a great audience. And if your product is not something for super young people, then even consider excluding the 18 to 24. Again, as you should be trying to push your target demographic as high up as you can, of course, depending on the product, because the higher up you go, the more money they tend to have, and the more likely they are to convert, right? And now, in terms of the strategy itself, I'm going to suggest a strategy here for testing, which is a very simple framework that reflects these points that I just made about TikTok. No big deal about interest targeting. You just want to have an idea before you really invest into any more into the platform. So what I would suggest is a CBO campaign, $100 a day, 9 ad groups, US and Canada, because these are the countries where TikTok has been expanding the most. And these are some of the countries with the strongest e-commerce culture. So they buy online more. If you want to test the waters, this is what I would go first. It doesn't mean that you scale in here, just in here, or you don't go anywhere else. It just means that it gives you a good sample size to get started. So US and Canada, remove the younger age range, TikTok placement only. You don't want to go for their audience network. And then you want to use 3 different types of ad groups, each with 3 copies. So 3 broad, completely open, 3 with the recommended interest that the platform has, which is a reason why I recommend you install the pixel in your store before you intend to start running ads. So it starts getting some data, and then it's going to suggest the group of interests that you can inject into your ad groups. So 3 of these, and then 3 more ad groups with interests that you select yourself that you think will correlate well with the product. Then just a little bit of analysis here. If your CTR is consistently below 1%, consider retesting with new creatives. That's not great. And you can definitely get better results if you improve your creatives. If you're not profitable within 3 days of running this structure, rethink your offer, because the match between your offer and your audience is probably not very good. Maybe your product is not a great TikTok platform, product for the TikTok platform. And you should keep in mind that there is a narrower spectrum. So there is a possibility that the product doesn't do well. Maybe with organic traffic, it can do better. I've seen products do well with organic traffic, and then when they're taken to paid traffic, they don't work on the same platform. So I've seen that happen. It's possible. This is why I recommend testing with this before really digging into the platform and putting in a lot more money into the platform. Whoops, wrong slide. The scaling structure. We have 3 methods that I would recommend here for CBO scaling. The first one, duplicating the original CBO, very simple, 1, 2, 3 times the budget. Duplicating ABOs, I haven't seen great success with that. Usually duplicating CBOs does best on TikTok, because again, as broad as you go and the more freedom you give to the algorithm, the best it tends to perform. You can duplicate specific ad groups into a new CBO as well with multiple copies of the same ad group, and you can stack audiences. This is something that works very well with TikTok as well. Stack your top performing ad groups into a new CBO. Then you should use the analytics dashboard. Unlike Facebook, which has removed a lot of these for privacy concerns, you can use the analytics dashboard and narrow down to the specific parameters where you see more traction. So limit your age range if you see that you have a specific age range that converts better. Limit your locations, and even devices. Limit devices. Sometimes using an iOS audience is going to convert better for a certain product, and an Android audience is going to convert better for another product. TikTok gives you this data, so you should definitely use it. Facebook had it, removed it a while ago. I think it was 1 year ago, give or take, when the iOS 14 update hit. So definitely leverage this and use this to scale. And yeah, broadly speaking, this is the strategy that I wanted to share with you guys and the overview for the TikTok platform. Yeah, I appreciate your time and attention, and I'll be happy to take some questions.
Thanks, George. It was super insightful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we do have a question.
Okay, so we have this one here, right? As Salar, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's better.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What was Spark ads for brands?
Is it better organic growth if I use Spark ads? That's an interesting question. Have you tried this? Because asking that specific question with is it bad for organic growth if I use Spark ads? Technically, no. There's no reason for it to be. But I've seen a case with a client where they were doing really, really well with organic traffic, and then they started doing paid traffic with their organic posts, and their organic sales died. Why that happened, I have no idea. I don't think anyone does, but it did mess something up with the organic algorithm and the distribution when they started using Spark ads. So that's why I asked if you were doing this, because I've seen it happen. It doesn't make any sense, but I've seen it happen. What you can do and what I would recommend is that if you have a very good organic growth strategy going on and you're getting organic sales, do a separate page or use a separate identity to run your paid traffic. Don't run it through the Spark ads, because I've seen it. There's a risk that this happens. So you don't want to hit the performance of your organic growth by using the Spark ads. There is another thing that you can do with Spark ads to grow a brand, which is very good. I'm working on a TikTok course right now that's going to include this, is you use your Spark ads for reach. You use your Spark ads to get followers for your TikTok page, which might seem kind of counterintuitive if you want to get a profit, but you get Spark ads to get followers, and then these followers are going to increase the potential of your organic growth campaigns, because you're just increasing your following, you're increasing the exposure of your organic growth. So the Spark ads with a follower campaign tend to pay off both via organic growth and retargeting that you can then do with Google search. So Spark ads, a combination of Spark ads and Google retargeting through a brand search campaign is a very, very good idea. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, from Lydia, if selling baby products, as you mentioned about demographic, and should still like not to, target people with baby products or something?
This one, should we still not do interest targeting? Need to target people? Well, you should. That's why, this testing strategy that I've suggested includes 3 broad ad sets and then 3 ad sets with interest that you choose. So you do a combination of both and you let the algorithm go. Yeah. Okay.
So next question would be like, what's the best creative format for TikTok? What's your suggestion on this?
Video dimensions 9:16, of course. It has to be 9:16. You have to make it as organic as possible. The best way for you to study your best creatives is go on the TikTok Creative Center, look at top performers for conversions and see what's working and just model after that, because there is a formula. And if you spend a few minutes looking at it, if you spend a few minutes looking at the best performers, you will recognize that formula for sure. In terms of length, I've seen very short things do well, like even 10-second things up to 30, 40 seconds. Depends on what you're doing. Depends if you're doing a UGC testimonial or if you're just going for a very quick scroll stopper wow factor thing. But definitely study the formula and you'll see it. You'll see it pop. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to share also a link that HyperSkill can provide also some trending TikTok product and also skills here in the group. And one question from me to George, because many people say that influencer marketing in TikTok were highly effective. Can I know like your thoughts about this?
Yeah, it's really effective because of what I was talking about. So it's a platform that is structured for organic growth and engagement with the creators. Yeah. So if you have someone, and that is why, just like you can think of something that happened in Instagram that is kind of a parallel to what's happening in TikTok like right now. When Kylie Jenner made her brand of cosmetics and she grew the brand with Instagram and her Instagram presence. If you have an influencer that is going to start a brand, either because it's her own brand or it's because it's a partnership, she is going to be providing those three things that I mentioned, either entertainment or education or aspiration. And that is going to create huge brand loyalty. So a platform like TikTok, where you have brand loyalty inherent to the platform because of the connection with the creator, is going to be immensely successful for influencer marketing. That being said, there are red flags that you should consider when you're choosing an influencer. You don't want to go for someone that makes 1,000 promotions every day. You don't want to go for someone who has, their audience very exhausted with promotions. You need to study the influencer. You need to study their audience and see if it identifies with your brand. But it's a Kickstarter for new brands that want to revolve around an influencer, whether that be because you partner with the influencer, which is also a great strategy, or just because you're running paid promotions. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thanks for joining us, George.
You're welcome. My pleasure. All right.
Okay.
You guys have a great day.